Toodle-Pip.
Who back when?
What ho, podcast land, Future Pumpkin here with a super quick apologetic intro. Actually, it's a double apology. Numero uno! We originally meant to drop this bonus episode ahead of the 4th of November, because, spoilers, we're reviewing a couple of Doctor Who comics that were published on the 4th. But due to a birthday celebration, late nights of work, and, let's be honest, some alcohol, we're dropping these a little later than planned. Numero dos. I'm not sure what happened to the audio quality of this one. My mic was misbehaving severely, and I did a pretty lackadaisical job of cleaning it up in post, so apology number 2 is dedicated to that. Hope you like it anyway, though. It's pretty cool. Either way, we're dropping a regular Classic Who review today as well, so if you're in need of a cleaner-sounding Who Back When fix of the day, there you go, you can't complain. Okay, enough blah blahs, on with the show. Rawmeister, I'm really sorry for including this apologetic intro. Ponkin' and Friends joke. Here we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another very special bonus episode of Who Back When, a Doctor Who podcast. I am Ponkin. Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
And with me tonight is...
Drew! Of Drew Back When, quote-unquote, fame.
What makes this episode so different from all other bonus episodes, Drood?
Why, it's something we've never done before.
It is indeed.
Aren't we being coy?
You may have heard of Titan Comics. They publish a very successful line of Doctor Who comic books. Not just Doctor Who, actually. Lots and lots of franchises. And among other things, they publish Doctor Who comics. And they reached out to us and said, hey, do you guys want to review a couple of our upcoming comic books that are scheduled to publish? When? Tomorrow. Bing bong, that would be the 4th of November. Bing bong.
Holy crap, this is timely.
Very topical. And we said, yes, goddamn right we would. So here we are. We're going to review 2 comic books. One is an 8th Doctor adventure comic book, and it is in fact the very first in a series, a mini-series of 8th Doctor adventures.
Why, that's written by George Mann, Emma Viacelli, and Hi-Fi.
Oh.
A distant cousin of
Hi-Five?
R2-D2. Johnny Five.
And the other one is an 11th Doctor adventure, written by Cy Spurrier, Rob Williams, Simon Fraser, and Gary Caldwell. Which is what? Part 1 of Season 2?
No, it's Part 2 of Season 2, as in Year 2.
Right.
11th Doctor, Year 2, Number 2.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Oh, shit. Well, I completely missed that.
We were a bit bemused to be approached. Obviously, Leon has said that maybe everyone else has been approached, and you can compare our reviews to theirs if you're super into comics. And if you are super into comics and would like us to do more of this, if we are approached again, then do let us know.
Absolutely.
I think it's brave on the part of the Titan Comics marketing department, because, wow, I mean, have you heard our last 3 reviews? We've been tearing them to shreds.
We are not kind.
No.
We love Doctor Who, and for that reason, we hate a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 conflicting philosophies at work here. One is there's no such thing as bad publicity, but also no news is good news. And I wonder which of ours will be borne out. Who knows? Maybe both. We're reviewing 2 comics.
Yes, we are. And saying that, spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen of Podcast Land, we will be giving one of them a probably significantly higher rating than the other.
Oh,
I think that's a nice way of saying it.
Yes.
Yeah. Polite.
But that's just our own personal taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are we to tell you what to think for the last 2 years and a bit? But whatever.
Which one should we start with? 8th Doctor or 11th Doctor?
Well, the 8th is a lower number, so that suits me
numerically. Yeah. Okie dokie. So, this miniseries does not have a title, as far as I can tell.
It's just, if you like the 8th Doctor, then you'll get a whole comic worth of him. It's Doctor Who, inside from cover to cover.
It is, yes. It is sort of titled New Adventures with the 8th Doctor. Very possibly that's the title of it.
As opposed to what? The same old shit again with the 8th Doctor?
Well, it certainly was not the same old shit. Let's say something about the 8th Doctor. Okay. Most people who are Whovians, they really only know the 8th Doctor from 2 things. They know him from the film that most of them have not seen, and they know him from the 50th anniversary 7 minutes mini-sode. What was it called? Time of the Doctor? Bing bong. Night of the Doctor. Bing bong.
Which, again, you would have had to do a little bit of research to find out. I mean, the BBC made you aware that it existed, but not as many people have seen it as saw the episode.
Are you sure? Oh, maybe. Oh, I don't know. I think a lot of people watched that 50th anniversary minisode.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it won't be as many people as watched
the actual 50th. Yeah, sure.
So either way, the 8th Doctor is losing out, and here's a chance for him to show what he's made of.
That is true. In that 50th anniversary, when he's dying, or when he's about to regenerate, sorry.
Where's he dying?
On Khan!
Run!
He lists all these companions that he's travelled around space and time with. And in the, let's bring this all the way back around to this comic, on the title page of this, this is sort of the colophon of it, we get a list of companions. Because we have a previously on the Eighth Doctor's adventures. Let's just read this out loud. The Eighth Doctor has come a long way since he regenerated in the morgue of Grace Holloway's hospital. That's Companion 1. He has known many friends and fast companions in his life. Charlie Pollard, Ceriz, or Ceriz, who knows.
I think it's short for clitoris.
Lucy Miller, who features in every single Doctor Who audiobook that we've reviewed on Who Back When so far. Tamsin Drew, Molly O'Sullivan, blah, 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 many, many more. Anyway, now he's travelling around with a new companion, and she is...
Josephine Day. One of the things we found out from looking at these, or one of the things we surmise from reading these two different comics, is that they seem to be aimed at different age ranges.
Disparate groups of people. Oh, absolutely.
From toddlers to hardened bounty hunters.
Yeah, the Eighth Doctor adventure, or the Eighth Doctor comic, is far more childish. It's even drawn in a slightly childish way, I feel, compared to the other one.
It's a lot cleaner.
It is cleaner, yeah. It's clean, it's neat. No, I mean, it's very nicely drawn.
Okie dokie. Let's do a B-scowl on this bite-sized comic of Who.
Bite-sized comic of Who.
Josie Day is in what turns out to be the Doctor's house.
She's squatting.
She's squatting in the Doctor's house. Why does he have a house? When did he get a house? She's squatting in his house and she's painting.
Yep, she's a painter.
And predominantly seems to be painting alien creatures.
For the local pub, for everyone in her local Welsh village who has a strange predilection for sci-fi.
The Doctor pops up, goes, "Who the shit are you in my house?" And I think we can say this. One thing leads to another, and the monsters and aliens and creatures that she's drawn or painted come to life.
Yes, and overrun the village.
Yeah. B-scowl over, sort of. Saying that, I hate to say this, but that's pretty much the entire thing. I mean, this is part one of I don't know how many parts to this story, or this serial, but that's pretty much all we get.
Well,
the whole thing is 30 pages long.
I can see what they're doing with it, possibly. Mm-hmm. Maybe history will prove me wildly wrong, but they're introducing the companion at this stage. They're sort of introducing the Doctor, the series of this Doctor anyway.
Yeah.
So you need to get the companion off Earth with an adventure built around that.
Yep.
So you need to do a lot of introductory work, but also have a miniature plot, and then episodes, issues 2, 3, 4, off they go throughout the universe.
But it is also, it is a miniature plot that isn't self-contained. It has potential for spin-offs in a way. Like, there are little clues to a rich backstory, or the rich backstory of Josie Day.
Yeah, a continuing mystery.
Yeah, exactly. How come she even, why does she even know what these monsters look like? Because she's drawing actual creatures from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Crotons. Ice Warriors. Those other ones.
Oh, the Witherkin.
That's, yeah. Never heard of them.
I don't know. I think, to be honest, it sounds like more the Witherkin. I don't think they sound scary at all, but...
I don't know which ones they were. That pretty much covers the plot.
Yep.
What about the writing? Could you hear Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor say the words written for the Eighth Doctor in this comic?
Well, I know, as everyone knows, the Eighth Doctor less well than everyone else. So, you know, over a series of familiarity with Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, it was much easier for me to hear that voice.
Sure.
So maybe that's not so much the comic's fault that I didn't.
I know, I've listened to a whole bunch of Doctor Who audiobooks with the Eighth Doctor.
Oh, I should be asking you this question.
I wasn't as convinced in this case as I was with the 11th one.
Okay. So, what, he's basically a plot cipher in this episode? A plot cipher Doctor?
I guess, yeah.
There's not much specific to his persona that comes through in the writing. But then, maybe comics is a different medium. Maybe this is supposed to be a bit simpler. We have surmised that this is for a younger audience, perhaps, than the 11th Doctor one, and we're full-blown wannabe adults. So,
sure,
you know, turning our exacting adult so-called gaze on this is an every pain, and picking it apart is perhaps a little unfair.
Probably true.
One thing I would note is that very rarely was I convinced that I was looking at the guy who was on the cover. I mean,
that's a good point.
In terms of faces, naturally it's simplified, but I just don't feel like they got Paul McGowan's proportions right a lot of the time. I think it's internally consistent, but I'm just looking at some replacement actor in his stead almost. He's just a heartthrob doctor with slightly messy hair.
He's Hugh Grant with a sonic screwdriver.
There is the odd panel where actually some of his face is obscured, and you think,
Oh, that could be him.
Okay, yeah, that could be him.
Yeah.
But most of the time, what we're saying is it adds up to the Doctor not being full of the Eighth Doctor's identity in this comic. So I guess you could say we were a bit disappointed with this one.
I was a little bit disappointed with it. I think mainly because it's too linear, it's too easily solved a mystery. This first installment was like a Harry Potter conundrum. You're like, oh my god, how do we cross the bridge? I guess we cross it. Alright, oh my god, we crossed the bridge.
Don't get me started on the Prisoner of Azkaban. Oh my goodness, how are we going to solve this? Let's just turn back time. I think we can find a way. It's fucking irritating. What it does do, that Harry Potter-esque plot device, is it gives the companion some agency and some empowerment.
Can we go into spoiler land with this? If you intend to read this and you don't want this spoiled, then fast forward 30 seconds. How do you feel about her drawing the Doctor stepping out of the painting? He's not the Doctor, he's the drawing of the Doctor, and then saving the day, but never being explained after that.
This is probably why, subconsciously, I thought of the Morton Harket reference, because it is Take On Me all over again, and out he steps out of the panel.
Ooh.
And yes, the real Doctor is standing in the village, and he just raises his arm aloft and cheers, and the immediate question is, why didn't the first Doctor just escape with Josie and do his smashy thing? It is bizarre. Maybe he didn't know what to do, and she somehow did, and it's expressed through her painting, and that comes out later on in the mystery. We can't definitely condemn this by saying that it's all contained here, because maybe it isn't.
No, but it does still feel like there was a deliberate sidestep from efficiency just to give her a few extra panels. It's like, I can very clearly do this on my own, but I'm going to stay here, out of the way, so that you get a page and a half of painting me, which, let's face it, that's going to take a while. She does a very good job of painting him.
Yeah, excellent job, with like 6 colours on the palette.
Yeah.
No, I can see the reason for it, and I don't mind it so much. Yes, it's quick and it's a bit nasty, but at the same time, I think it fulfills its purpose.
I think if you're a kid and you possibly aren't very familiar with Doctor Who, or with the history of Doctor Who, this will do you nicely.
Yeah, as an introduction.
Yeah.
And they can ramp things up as they go along.
You could also say that in the 11th Doctor one, which we'll get onto in a second, it follows the same structure. So you have that cover image, you go to the next page and you get 3 little panels, and one explains who's the Doctor, as in this Doctor, who is the companion, and who is the next person in line. And for the 8th Doctor one, we get an actual honest-to-God explanation for what is the TARDIS.
Yeah, what does it stand for?
I'm not sure we need
bigger
that.
on the inside.
I mean,
well, who are you going to do? Crazy Welsh superstitious lady? I mean, they were really reaching for a third panel at this point. Let's just bring them in.
Okay, I suppose. Well, I mean, they could have typeset it differently. They could have just had the 2. Okay, well, whatever. What are you giving this one? This was a really weird review.
I'm going to give it a 1.1.
I'm going to give it a 0.7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
High 5. 11th Doctor, let's get on to that one.
Yeah, 11th Doctor, Year 2, Number 2. So, this one was a bit strange for us in that we haven't read number 1, obviously we haven't read number 3.
We haven't read Year 1.
No, so we're dropped in about as medias res as we possibly could be.
Yeah.
But
love the Latin.
we get the Doctor, who is the last of the Time Lords, specifically in this one. That differs from the 8th Doctor description.
Yeah,
by now the Doctor has killed everyone.
Actually, that's a good point. Let's compare these. So, what do they say about the 11th Doctor?
He's the last of the Time Lords of Gallifrey, not just a Time Lord Gallifrey.
An old soul in the body of a boy professor.
As opposed to a romantic soul wandering the universe.
Effortlessly charming, in search of culture, companionship, and adventure.
Whereas the other one makes mistakes, and often.
Yeah, I'm already more interested in the 11th Doctor, which is a bit of a shame, because as Doctors go, I prefer the 8th one of those 2.
Yeah. Given what happened in the film, sorry, this is the 8th Doctor again, do you expect the Doctor and Josie Day in future episodes to inevitably get it on?
Yes, I think the 8th Doctor film, the Doctor Who movie, very clearly proved that the 8th Doctor is a massive poonhound. It's so uncanonical a film. I don't know how much of that counts.
But it counts for this comic in that he's a romantic soul in search of poon and tang and adventure.
Next 11th companion.
Yeah, Alice Obiafune. Pardon my, I assume, Nigerian pronunciation there.
Well done.
That's also a guess. Sorry for my just lack of knowledge in general.
She's a former library assistant.
Yeah, first met the Doctor shortly after her mother died. She's been on a voyage of recovery and self-discovery ever since. So there's emotional depth there.
And they clearly have a rich backstory.
Yeah, so
together.
So compare that with Josie Day.
Josie Day, cyan-haired cipher, at least for one more page. Josephine Josie Day is introduced in this very issue.
Oh, well, I can see why they wouldn't want to
give too much away, sure. But if you compare the two, like Josie Day is young, she's a bit of a punk, she has an artistic streak to her. For some reason, squatting in a house by herself, how old is she, do you reckon?
She could be anything from...
She's 20s, right?
I'd say she's anything from 18 to late 20s. It's drawn so cleanly you can't tell.
I suppose, but if she's 18, squatting in this house, where are her parents? Why?
You can move out when you're 18.
So what does she do for a living? She just paints and sells them to the local pub?
Yeah, she's a young creative receptacle for romantic adventure.
But that's just such an intense stereotype.
Yes.
Compare that with Alice, who, granted, we've not seen her journey to this point, but when we meet Alice, she's just kind of, well, you know what, fuck it, I've been around the block. She's more mature, she's more interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
She's got more sass.
As we will go on to find.
Yeah.
The third panel is given over to the Squire.
Ah, yes.
Who is the TARDIS for a start, so that's a bonus.
So the Squire is this other Time Lord, this other Gallifreyan person who at least claims to have fought in the Time War with the Doctor.
Yeah, she might not be a Time Lord, she was just there on Gallifrey during the Time Lord. She's this crazy old lady who's been in the army her whole life and is having a bit of a mental breakdown.
Yeah,
this is all
can't remember
really,
how old she is and so on and so forth.
Yeah, this is all really interesting stuff that you just don't get in the series.
Doesn't she tell him at some point, like, why didn't you check that I have two hearts?
Oh, I don't know.
I think she does. Or maybe I'm misremembering that.
She just struck me as someone who wouldn't be cast in the Doctor Who episode. You can imagine Josie Day being cast in an episode and it not being a great episode. But this woman, she's got all these unique attributes. I mean, maybe not in terms of comic books.
This woman, she has all the constituent parts of a recurring character from like a very, very elaborate arc.
Yeah, but just, it's the sort of plum, juicy role that older actresses don't get.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, she gets a kick-ass. She has a rich backstory with the Doctor that could go forward as well as backwards. I mean, obviously, Alex Kingston is ageing, and she's just filmed the Christmas special, but I don't think she's this old yet as River Song. I don't think she's going to be in the series as long as this and go crazy by the end. So, yeah, I was really interested to see a different voice coming into
And she also has that emotional... I mean, she shows a bit of emotional range, because at some point she realizes that she is losing it, or that, at the very least, she's losing her memory. She's like, oh, I can't remember. Am I 18? Am I 19? Like, you're very clearly not 18, love. But this is, since this is part 2 of year 2, we do have a previously. This is placed in a context. Do you remember more or less what it was?
Basically, the Doctor was caught in a trap by a planet who blame him for
the Time War and for the destruction of Gallifrey.
Yeah, and the downfall of their civilization. And so a bounty hunter is after the Doctor. Also, this new foe is introduced, which we'll get on to.
Sure.
And so the Doctor and his squire and this companion are trying to get away from at least 2 foes.
Yep.
And very deeply inlaid in a whole interconnected web of consequences.
Yeah. Basically, the only thing we know is that the last comic, it ended on a massive cliffhanger where they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. The Rock being this crazy chainsaw-wielding, super badass taken straight from the pages of Judge Dredd, and the other being a time monster.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is badass. He seems to have bits of Dalek mounted on his shoulder as a trophy of war. This is very definitely a much more adult book.
Oh, God, yeah. And somehow, weirdly, he's lugging his wife around in, like, cryogenic stasis or something. He's like, oh, yeah, that's my wife. The Daleks got her. Now I'd carry her around space and time, killing Daleks. We also get bleeped F-bombs from him in this comic.
Yeah.
He refers to a hate-on, as in a hard-on, but a hate-on. Very hot.
Very complex, again.
Yeah.
oh, this guy's got a lot of urges, and they're all sort of merging into his schlong.
He certainly enjoys his beer, because he reeks of it, and pretty much the first thing that we see him do is jump out of the TARDIS and chainsaw this time monster to shit.
Yeah, so he hopes. Hopefully he's just cutting its head down the middle.
Yeah. There's some fairly interesting sci-fi concepts here as well.
Yeah.
The Time Monster is described as someone who got his hands on a time machine, went back in time, killed himself, went further back in time, had sex with his ancestor or something, like became his own ancestor / whatever, you know.
Yeah, basically made himself utterly a walking paradox.
Yeah, and the drawing of that creature is also pretty amazing. There's that one layered image where you get to see him like human, or like humanoid, skeleton, skin, energy, all the layers of this being. As opposed to the 8th Doctor one, this is a Doctor Who story that actually involves time travel.
Yeah.
I mean, time travel, not just, as we was just saying about this time monster, it's time travel as in they travel through the vortex. They actually go through space and time in this episode, and ties back to the previously on Doctor Who that we get there. Whereas in the 8th Doctor one, there's none of that.
There's barely any sci-fi. There are monsters.
There are recognizable Doctor Who brand elements in the 8th Doctor adventure.
Yeah, and there's a sort of particle.
An anime particle.
Yeah, which is basically a device for wibbly-wobbly projection of energy.
Yeah.
So from one thing
It'll
to another.
animate anything you draw.
Yeah, how many times have we sort of heard that? This maps this from A to B, and there are unexpected consequences in C, so we have to reverse it, you know.
Yes.
Sake. Whereas in this one, and there's a lot going on every single page. It's not linear. You've got outside the TARDIS, you've got inside the TARDIS. Inside the TARDIS, each person is doing their own thing. The Doctor's making tea with brilliant continuity of science concepts going into this tea. I loved it. Every single page, it was...
Would you like some... What was it? Would you like some milk in your mathematical brew?
Yeah, and there's quantum sighted, and every page, it was just a new layer. Every page it built a bit.
And also, it wasn't as in your face as the 8th Doctor one. Like, I mean, at first, not knowing what is his relationship with this bounty hunter, I don't know about you, I assumed, I think this was their intention, I assumed that the bounty hunter was there because he wanted the Time Monster's bounty. He wanted to kill the... I mean, he jumps out of the TARDIS to kill the Time Monster, right? Yeah. The fact that the Doctor goes to make tea is just the 11th Doctor being the 11th Doctor. He's looking at a very serious scenario, a life and death kind of situation, and just thinking, well, you know, fish fingers and custard, I'll make a cup of tea.
Yes,
but it turns out this tea is actually a weapon that he's making.
Yeah, he's stalling for time until, you know, his genius is emergent from a much deeper level, rather than just going, you know what to do.
Yeah.
And, well, I suppose it's emergent in a different way in the 8th Doctor one. Oh dear.
Is it really?
I don't know, they suddenly seem to be quite alike.
Did you mean literally emergent? In the 8th Doctor one?
From the painting?
From the actual canvas.
Well, there you go, QED. I must have done, in an emergent sort of way. This is meta. But yeah, absolutely. The new concept being introduced for the Time Monster, I mean, a concept lives or dies on its introduction.
Yeah, and this one absolutely works.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I wonder, in 50 years or 52 years of Doctor Who, I wonder if we haven't already seen something kind of like that at some point. Or, you know, that people have seen it, that Doctor Who has done that already.
Maybe, but
It's sort of new to me, anyway.
Yeah, a lot of the time you're tiptoeing around the paradox, aren't you? So, oh, bloody hell, we can't go there. This absolutely goes there.
Yeah. Oh,
and
God, yes.
Gives it a grounding and a basis in plausibility and reality, and it's like, bloody hell, what happens next?
But so isn't this Doctor Who for the people who enjoy heavy metal or Judge Dredd? I mean, you've got blood, you've got mayhem and carnage.
Yep, you've got Hurt carrying a massive gun.
Yeah.
Which Matt Smith reluctantly identifies as his own.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, the voice of Matt Smith just comes through in...
Works like a charm.
Almost every panel. I mean, yes, it's a lot more affected.
Overall, I hope that Titan Books aren't offended by our review of the 8th Doctor one. And that they keep sending us 11th Doctor ones, because, I mean, even if we end up not doing another one of these reviews, I'm quite curious. I mean, I wouldn't mind spending 15 minutes reading the next one, you know?
Yeah, well, who knows? Might even go out and buy it.
Yeah.
The 8th Doctor one you'll probably have to send. Although, like I said, there is the potential for it to get better.
Sure. So let's go into spoiler land again for this one, for the 11th one.
Yep.
The civilization that he supposedly destroyed, he revisits them in this comic. They travel back in time and somehow coincidentally they go to the very point in time where that civilization was actually destroyed.
Yeah.
And probably the one point in time that led them to go, well, fuck it, now we're going to save up our money and get a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
So it's all this beautiful circle.
Yeah, and that happens... I mean, I noticed that very similar thing when Capaldi retconned Davros.
I was going to say, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And again, you have the Doctor thinking, I have to go back, but it is the very going back which...
That causes it.
Yeah, and so it is this beautiful loop, and this comic also does that very well.
Yeah.
And as if the Doctor didn't have enough guilt from having to kill off all his kind and the Daleks, now he's got this world on his conscience as well, and you see his reaction to it in the moment.
Yeah, and it's actually quite beautiful. Well, touching.
Yeah.
I can see the 11th Doctor adventure as maybe not a made-for-TV serial, because it couldn't air during family TV time.
No, it couldn't air pre-Watershed.
Absolutely. But I could see this cinematically released, this kind of story.
Yeah.
Whereas the 8th Doctor one...
Well, the 8th Doctor one is almost a vignette, isn't it?
Yeah. But even so, I don't get the impression that it's going to grow into anything more elaborate. I think it's constantly just going to be a pastiche of various Doctor Who themes.
Well, yeah, if it's aimed at a younger audience to drive them to the show, then yes, maybe that's the difference here. Maybe you get driven to the show from the 8th Doctor, and the 11th show, you're driven to it from the show. The 11th Doctor comic, you're driven to it from the show.
Yeah, but who goes and picks up an 8th Doctor adventure comic book?
Who goes and picks up a comic book, really?
Well, I would say quite a lot of people, and there are a lot of Doctor Who comics and graphic novels out there. So it's a big business. I mean, there are a lot of people who read them. But who goes out and picks up an 8th Doctor adventure one who isn't already familiar with Doctor Who?
Who needs to be told what the TARDIS is?
Exactly. It seems like who is this audience? Who is it made for? In a way, it should almost be the other way around. Matt Smith really appeals to the wibbly-wobbly kiddywinks, whereas the 8th Doctor, he's kind of dark. He's dark and mysterious. He turned himself into the War Doctor.
And he needs to redeem himself for various reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And you can sort of assume, I mean, I'm not saying that, I wish that the Doctors had switched around. I can just I would not have been surprised at all if they had switched them around. Because for people to know the 8th Doctor, to go and seek him out in comic book form, I would almost assume that they're a slightly more mature audience. Yeah. And for that reason, they would probably enjoy the darker, gritty, Chris Nolan-esque 11th Doctor adventure thing that we just read. Anyway.
We should rate the second one.
Let's do it. What are you giving it?
Well, I'm going to give this one a 4.2. And I take some points off because there isn't a haiku where you think there might be one. But otherwise, pretty damn good.
I'm going to give it... Oh, you know what? I'll copycat. I'm going to give it a 4.2 as well. I think it's a really, really good one.
Yeah. Also, there's blood in it.
There's so much blood in it.
Yeah. It's brutal.
For blood, for awesome high concept sci-fi, for F-bombs, and for a chainsaw. Yeah, 4.2.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, what you get with the 11th Doctor comic book is a little bonus one-pager.
Yeah, a little comedic mini-comic.
Completely different style, much more Beano style.
Yeah, called No Win and No Fez.
And you got the Doctor in a domestic environment at home with his lovely wife, River Song, and Amy and Rory related in various sci-fi wibbly-wobbly ways.
It's very... You know what it is? It's very Rick and Morty. They're watching an alien TV ad, a commercial, about a law firm against Time Lords or something.
Yeah.
Lawyers against Time Lords.
It takes in two things that we have talked about in recent podcasts. One is the collateral damage that the Doctor leaves behind as he trails his massive wake of destruction through the universe.
Yep.
And the second is that he's driven to such carnage by the need to massage his gargantuan ego.
Yeah.
Which came out most evidently in the last one, where he's like, no one believes in me. Oh, okay, I'll just save the world because someone basically sucked my mind dick.
Which one was that? That's
Doomsday, yeah.
So that's technically the next one.
Shit. timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, fucky-wucky bollocks. Right, well.
Okie dokie. Hope you enjoyed this, ladies and gentlemen.
I hope we edited this well for you, ladies and gentlemen.
We may very well do more of these going forwards. Thank you so much, Titan Comics, for sending us those advanced copies. These comics are out on the 4th. Maybe we convinced you to go out and buy them. That wasn't necessarily our intention, but you know what?
Yeah, our intention is just to tell it like it is.
Exactly.
You're welcome. Hey, you know what you should do? Even if you're not going to go out and buy these comic books, which I'm not going to hector you into doing, you should follow Leon on Twitter.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
Absolutely. That is the very minimum you can do to get into this point.
Yeah, follow me. I'm at Ponkin. Here's a soundbite of JD singing how you spell that.
Ponken, Ponkin.
Thanks, JD. And here's a soundbite of me singing what I sing.
I am found out Drew back when, because it sounds like who back when.
Well done, Drew Meister.
It never gets old.
Okie dokie. Yeah, thanks for listening. Catch us in the next one.
Ka-chang.
Shamanama-dingo. Kablamo! Did you enjoy the show? Then please do what the cosmos compels you to and spread the gospel of who back when. Tell your friends. Don't have any friends? No problemo. Tell some strangers. Like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/who back when. All in one word. Are you on Google Plus? Then find us on Google Plus. That's plus who back when. And when you do, tell us why you're on Google Plus. Who Back When just got its very own Twitter account, no lie, so give us a follow. You guessed it, that's at Who Back When, all in one word. Check us out on SoundCloud, vote us up on Reddit, listen to us on Stitcher, and head on over to our website, whobackwhen.com, where you can leave a comment, submit a review of your own, and peruse our visual index of aliens, monsters, and more, which increases in kablamos with every episode. And lastly, give us a rating and review on iTunes. Not only would it make us super chuffed, and it really, really would, but as thanks, we will transmigrate your iTunes nom de plume into the credit list of trailers for fake Doctor Who audiobooks produced by Who Back When. Have a poke around our bonus episodes to make more sense of that. That's it. Rock on and be rad and excellent to each other. Catch your earballs in our next classic Who review, new Who review, or, still funny, audio Who review. Ciao.
Who back when?